The Heat re-signed Dru Smith last week, but is there a possibility that his return from injury could be delayed? Plus, the latest on Pelle Larsson and a look back at a major contributor to one of the best seasons in Heat history on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. For daily content on the Heat, join more than 17,000 everydayers and click that subscribe button on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Have a fun show for you today. I want to get to Pelle Larsson's performance for Sweden in EuroBasket, and we'll continue our 25 of 25 series in a second. But let's start with this update on Dru Smith's timetable. Dru Smith told Ira Winderman that he's gearing up for 5-on-5 work, which means he's already doing some on-court work, gearing up for 5-on-5 drills, and expects to be ready for training camp after tearing his Achilles in December. David, does this change how you feel about the decision to re-sign him? This is good news.
Is it? I'm having a hard time thinking of it in that positive light. You sign into a 3-year deal. I understand that there are incentives built into the last couple of years or options that might not necessarily be make him a guarantee for a roster spot. And yet, while you're not counting on Dru Smith necessarily, you want him to be out there. Like, part of training camp is making sure everybody gets the reps necessary in order to get into that kind of rhythm. Dru Smith is the kind of player that can afford to miss time. And at the very least, you expect him to be at the kind of level where he can challenge other better players on this roster, because that's what his job is. He's there to be a defensive presence, to be able to do some on-court stuff and maybe provide a little complimentary scoring from time to time. But he's really been brought out there, I think, for his defense mostly. And it's, if he's not going to be out there at all, then he just doesn't offer much. So,
But doesn't this sound like he will be? The whole quote is, I'm moving well, things are looking up. The goal obviously is to be ready by camp, and I think that as of right now, with no setback, that's kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's fine. Again, we're talking about a player who's sustained major injuries throughout his brief career, and it just feels like the idea that you're kind of hoping no setbacks are going to happen between now and a month from now, that always seems kind of really difficult. And I'm not sure how anybody could be very enthusiastic about the idea. It's like, well, hopefully he'll be healthy. Like, he's a young
Were you expecting that he would have already, like, are you looking at it in terms of, like, why are we even talking about this? He should have been ready to go in the first place if you were going to re-sign him. That I understand. He did tear his Achilles in December. That tends to be a year injury.
I know. I understand that. So, it almost feels like he's being rushed back to a certain extent. Like that, that short turnaround for a player, again, who's had 2 major injuries over the last 2 seasons, does not feel like a wise decision at this point. But then again, neither does not signing him to a 3-year deal.
So I guess where I fall on this is Miami wouldn't have re-signed him if they didn't think he was going to be ready to go anyway. And that was some of the intel that we were getting behind the scenes a little bit there was, look, this has been, a month or so now where it was pretty clear that the Heat were going to bring Dru Smith back in some capacity, right? We talked about that about a month ago about how he wasn't eligible for the 2-way contract and Miami had to figure some things out. So this has been on our radar and we've been talking about this. The Heat they're not doing Dru Smith favors, and I think that's sort of what Heat fans kind of think. The Heat aren't doing anybody. They think, rightly or wrongly, but they think he can impact the team. And for sure, they wouldn't think he could impact the team if they didn't think that he was going to be healthy enough to contribute. So even a month ago, when we were hearing that they wanted to bring back Dru Smith, at that point, I was like, oh, so his recovery must be kind of going ahead of schedule. Because again, you think about an Achilles is typically a 12-month injury, which would have put him out until mid-season, right? December again. So I don't know. I look at this as he's going on record and saying, yeah, I think I'll be ready for training camp. And to your point, David, like if he is ready for camp, that is a big deal because we were just talking about Haywood Highsmith, who they traded and made room for Dru Smith. potentially not being ready for training camp. And we discussed about, the ramifications of that too.
Well, I was soured on that too. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
and again, that was not something that the Heat knew about. I mean, they were aware of the injury, but it also was not something that was kind of rolling over from last season nor the season
Right.
prior to that. So
They weren't
it was
planning
just
on
something
it.
sustained through us. Exactly. So those things tend to happen. And yeah, I mean, again, we thought it was going to be well, it was going to be a problem for Haywood because again, he has to be part of that
Mhm.
rotation for him to be able to earn those minutes. So I think it applies to Dru as well. He can't afford to just miss time going into training camp. And it seems like he might be slowly rolled back, and that might be the kind of thing where it's like, oh, you know what, you take one day on, maybe you just take a day off, and that just doesn't seem like that's in the best interest of the Miami Heat nor of Dru Smith.
Let's move on to Pelle Larsson. He's playing for Sweden in EuroBasket. They're doing their preparation games, and they had a prep game against Estonia on Wednesday afternoon. He had 13 points in front of Erik Spoelstra, who was in the building watching Pelle play. Spo said that on the broadcast, he joined the TV broadcast for a little bit. He said he'll also be watching Nikola Jovic play for Serbia on Thursday. But I do want to talk about what happened at the end of this game when Larsson missed a game-winning shot. Sweden puts the ball in his hands with less than 20 seconds to go, trailing Estonia by 1 point. Pelle has the ball at the top. He drives left, spins middle, goes up with the right hand kind of push shot right at the restricted circle, in and out. He misses it. Sweden loses. But David, two takeaways. First takeaway, that was a Jimmy Butler move.
Yeah.
That was a Jimmy Butler shot. That was what I said that Jimmy Butler's statue outside of Kaseya Center would be one day. Maybe not anymore, but it would be that patented kind of push shot from 4 to 5 feet out. So that stood out to me right away. And then obviously the disappointing that it didn't go in, but awesome that Sweden put the ball in his hands with a chance to win it, that he was that guy for that team right there.
That's what stood out to me the most, was that he was given the opportunity to hit the game winner. So I guess he's been making progress, and I can't speak to the strength of the rest of Sweden's roster, but I think he's clearly the best player of that roster if he's been given the opportunity to do so. And look, it was a great shot too. Like, it was really disappointing for him to be able to attack the basket, get within inches of the rim, and it just rolled right out. Like,
it was
that shot
as in and out gets. I mean, it was in and then it was out.
Yeah, no doubt. It was just a tough way for him to lose it, but at the same time, yeah, good opportunity that he got. And I like the attacking approach. Like, he didn't settle. Maybe took a little bit longer, but I know you want to milk the clock as much as possible. And to your point, it did look very similar to things that we've seen Jimmy do on occasion.
A little Dwayne Wade like, maybe.
I would say that too. Yeah, that's
right. Stan Van Gundy has talked a lot about how game on the line, ball in anybody's hands. I want Dwayne Wade because he was the best at milking the clock and getting it to where he would get a quality look, and then the other team wouldn't have enough time. Obviously, using a ton of hyperbole talking about Pelle Larsson here, comparing him to Jimmy Butler.
And a Hall of Fame candidate, I think, is what you're trying to say.
Jimmy might not get a statue, but Pelle will.
Second round picks. That's how we do things here in Miami.
I guess so. No, it was really cool, and Erik Spoelstra had a lot of nice things to say about him during the broadcast. Talked about how makes winning plays, all the things that we hear Spo talk about Pelle in the past about. But one thing also jumped out from me from Spo's comments on the broadcast. He said between the 4 lines, he's super competitive, but off the court, outside those lines, what we also really like in Miami is you're a good person and you get along with your teammates. Pelle Larsson looking like Jimmy Butler a little bit, and then maybe not a little bit.
That seems such a weird comment to make.
It was,
because it's not the morality clause isn't really part of anybody's contract at the NBA here. So I'm not sure. Like, you know what, we like him a lot because he's just a nice guy, and I don't know that really matters so much. I think a lot of fans would be like, listen, I'd be completely fine with him being a jerk as long as he scores 30 points a game. But you know what? Unfortunately, that's just not the case. So, I mean, interesting comments from Spo.
Maybe a little jet lagged. Started saying stuff on TV a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder. Spo typically not one to use that kind of language to describe a player. But
it was a nice guy.
He's a really nice guy. Just really
nice guy.
Him, he's gonna get some minutes because you know what? I like him.
Nice guy.
I don't know if that's the kind of comments you want to hear your coach.
He is a nice guy. Pelle's a nice guy. Maybe
he's just really
maybe
nice, and
he's
it
just
comes
really
across that way.
nice. He's a really nice guy. 25 of 25 is next. We're going to take a look at one of the most important draft picks in Heat history. Stay tuned.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. What am I doing here? Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401k, properties, investments, so many more. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data, visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Listen, you can link all of your accounts in Monarch, and I did that. And I immediately spotted a few things that I didn't want to spend money on. I cut those out, whether it's subscriptions or maybe looking at how you spend some money on some things that maybe you'd like to avoid. Well, if you're not using Monarch, you're definitely missing out. Canceling those subscriptions could save you the money that you're looking for to maybe making a bigger purchase down the road. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. We'll be right back.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. This is our 25 of 25 series, looking back at the top 25 Heat players of the last 25 seasons. Each episode, we'll be taking an in-depth look at every player who made the list, as voted on by us and our Locked On Heat insider community through the lens of what made them a definitive part of the franchise's history. Josh Richardson checked in at number 22 on our last episode. Now at number 21, it's Tough Juice himself. It's Caron Butler. Caron Butler, drafted by the Heat with the 10th pick in the 2002 draft after starring at UConn. He immediately makes an impact as a versatile small forward, averaging 15 points and 5 rebounds on 1.8 steals per game as a rookie. His performance earned him a spot on the 2003 NBA All-Rookie First Team, becoming one of the lone bright spots during a tough season for the Heat. Caron Butler's second year saw a slight dip in production as he battled injuries and adjusted to roster changes. Still, he was a key part of Miami's young core alongside Dwayne Wade, Lamar Odom, and others during the 2003-2004 season when the Heat made a surprise run to the second round of the playoffs. His time in Miami, though, came to an end in the summer of 2004 when the Heat traded Caron Butler along with Lamar Odom and Brian Grant to the Lakers in the blockbuster deal that brought Shaquille O'Neal to Miami. That trade set the stage for the Heat's championship run in 2006, but it closed the book on Caron Butler's brief, promising tenure in South Beach. David, he was ranked as high as 9 by one Locked On Heat Insider community member. The lowest ranking that he had, not ranked at all. Where did you have him?
I had him 20th on my list, if I'm not mistaken.
You did.
9th seems like such a leap. And, I mean, we're talking about the top 25 players over the last 25 years. And I think people keep thinking that it's 25 players in franchise history, but it's over the last 25 years. So basically since the 2000 year. And I can't imagine why Caron Butler would be ranked that highly. We're talking about 2 seasons, and maybe it's his stint as an assistant coach that's kind of set him up as a fond memory.
Still
or
with the team.
He feels like a Heat lifer, even though
Mm-hmm.
he really wasn't. Dwayne really loves Caron. They were teammates. They were both young players.
The
during some really
stories
nice seasons there.
that Dwayne and Udonis Haslem used to tell, still would tell, I suppose, about Caron Butler, even though they played with him only for those 2 seasons, they still tell those stories. I mean, Caron has so much respect within those Miami Heat walls, and I do think that some of that trickles out to the fan base. It is just so obvious. But you had him ranked 20th. Why? What stood out when you think about those 2 years about Caron? What stands out to you?
I think it was just the fact that he was supposed to be the franchise moving forward. It was a tough time for a lot of fans that might not remember. That was a difficult transition there, and that it was kind of a gap year in between superstars. Like Alonzo Mourning was still in the roster, but he had missed a complete year there. due to injury. He was getting the kidney transplant and stuff like that. So it was just a real strange season in terms of what this Heat team looked like. It was no longer Tim Hardaway, no longer Dan Marley, Jamal Mashburn, Eddie Jones was still
all of them are gone. Zoe, the kidney thing was sort of late in the process. They had this unexpected down season. Caron Butler is supposed to be one of the top picks in that draft. It was kind of Justice Winslow 1.0, and he falls to them at 10.
Yeah, I always refer to Justice as Caron Butler 2.0 in that sense.
There you go.
And that was, I'll never forget Caron weeping in the draft process there, because just everything he'd been through. And I mean, it's a fantastic story. And if you don't know it, I'm sure you can find it somewhere. But just to
he wrote a book about it.
He did. Yeah, Tough Juice. I mean, that's the book. You can see how amazing this moment was for him after winning a championship at UConn and doing everything that he was able to accomplish. And then, he slid in the draft, but he almost slid into such a perfect situation. And I was really sorry to see him go. I think between him or Lamar Odom, I don't remember who I felt most bad about, because it just felt like they were both going to be part of such a bright future for Miami. And although the acquisition of Shaquille O'Neal was the acquisition of Shaquille O'Neal, you can't really pass up an opportunity like that. To have given up 2 young players in exchange for Shaq was a tough pill to swallow for me at the time. But you know what? He was just really solid player, really good, good overall approach. Just not great, but I don't know why I had him ranked 20th. I can't make a strong argument for it. I honestly, I think, well, I mean, I had Josh Richardson ranked higher, and we saw most fans didn't agree with that ranking. So I think he was just right in that he was somebody who contributed for a couple seasons. He's still contributing now as a coach, and he was supposed to be a building block for the team's future. And even still, like almost from a coldly transactional way of looking at it, like he was part of acquiring Shaquille O'Neal. Like, I don't know if you can acquire Shaq without throwing Caron into that deal because of his youth and his promise and everything else like that. So I really appreciate what Caron did over those 2 years, but I'm a little surprised that somebody would rank him within the top 10 of the last 25 years. That's
so I did not have him ranked because it was just the 2 years. Nothing against Caron. It's just it was a short stint. It was one good year for a rookie.
Okay.
And then kind of a down second year where there was some injuries and stuff like that.
Can we argue this then? Because you had Chris Anderson in your top 25.
He won a championship.
For 2 years. He was on the roster. You know what? Caron Butler won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks in 2011.
Maybe he's one of their top 25 guys.
He cannot be. He wasn't playing. I just don't. He's like, you're awarding points. This should be the Michael Doliak award system here. It's like, hey, you're on that championship team.
Chris Anderson played. He was a role player. He was the backup center on a very important backup center on a historically great team. The best Heat team we've ever seen.
No doubt about that.
He played important minutes.
Putbacks. He really started off that Harlem Shuffle video like a badass. I mean, I have to give it to him.
I give credit to players who impact winning, who matter to the ultimate goal, which is to win a championship.
Okay. And yet, separate Chris Anderson away from a roster that contains, I don't know, maybe a few Hall of Famers on them, and put him alongside Vladimir Stepania, and let's see how he fares.
Okay. That's totally fair, but if you want to just judge by ability, that's one thing. I'm going off resumes, man. And on Chris Anderson's resume is a championship.
Sure was there. Yeah, he sure was. He was there.
Playing minutes in an NBA Finals. Something Caron Butler never did for the Heat.
No, he did not. No, he didn't.
Neither did Josh Richardson.
No, they did not.
So that stuff just matters to me. That's the stuff that gets remembered in NBA history, right? Like this is what it's all about. This is what it's for. So yeah, but I have people on my list that didn't win championships. It's just if Caron, because I was like you when they were discussing the trade, right? Because it was sort of like, will the Heat trade Caron Butler, Lamar Odom, all this stuff? Like we kind of knew what the package was going to be, right? Before they pulled the trigger on the Shaq deal. And I, like you, remember being like, yeah, Caron, like, that's one of our best young players. It was supposed to be like Dwayne Wade and Caron Butler were supposed to be Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen for the Miami Heat. Like that's kind of what it was supposed to be. And, it was really hard it's hard to let go of a promising young talent, but you get Shaquille O'Neal, who in that time was still at sort of like his near MVP form. Obviously it was the right move. They competed for probably 2 championships, 1, right? Maybe,
Yeah.
we'd see what happens if nobody gets hurt in that first Shaq Dwayne Wade season. But yeah, had it been longer, I would have had him ranked. I have no problem with him being on this list. I actually appreciate that he is on this list because he is just really important to Heat history. We're going to get to trivia here, plus our sliding doors moment, which we already kind of alluded to, but I think this one's actually pretty interesting. We'll get to all that next year on Locked On Heat. All right, David, you ready for some trivia?
No, let's do it.
Okay, that's perfect time. Caron Butler was picked number 10 in the 2002 draft. Who was picked first that year?
2002 draft.
Oh, I thought this was an easy one. Okay.
2002?
Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
The year before LeBron.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps
I
you.
don't have any idea. No.
Yao Ming.
Okay.
Yeah. Yao Ming to the Houston Rockets. Do you know who was picked? You know what? I'm going to save that. Where did my trivia go? Okay. So, trivia question number 2. During Caron Butler's rookie season with the Heat, he led the team in points per game. Who was the team's head coach that year?
2002? It was Pat Riley.
His rookie year. Yep, Pat Riley. Some people think it might be Stan Van Gundy. Maybe that was the easier
one. He took over
one.
in 2003.
That's right.
He jumped ship right before the 03-04 season, Dwayne's rookie year.
Yep. Final trivia question.
Okay.
Caron Butler's book, Tough Juice, came out in 2015. What former teammate and current Hall of Famer wrote the foreword to Caron Butler's book?
Ooh, that's a good one. Hall of Famer. Trying to think of everybody he's played with. Is it Dwayne?
It's not. Good guess. But
Dirk
it's not.
Nowitzki?
No, it's Kobe.
Ah,
Kobe.
2015. That makes sense.
Let me read you a part of the foreword that really stood out to me.
Okay.
This is obviously Kobe writing it. Caron and I bonded on day one, and that bond remains as strong today as it ever was, though he now wears a different uniform. Once I heard about Caron's background, where he started from, the obstacles that had been in front of him, the danger all around him as he grew up, I marveled at how far he had come, how much he had accomplished. If I were going into battle, if I were going into a game where everything was on the line, I would want him with me. He's not afraid of the big moment, not afraid of an altercation, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him because of that. Strong words from Kobe. Loved it. Run through that to me is like, you still hear people respect it. Is what I was alluding to earlier. The stories that people tell about Caron, the respect that he has, it's like once you know him, you can't escape it.
Yeah. I think he's one of those guys that was just universally beloved too. Never
well said.
A bad thing being said about him on the number of teams that he played for. Even when he was an older player, like he was just a guy that you could always appreciate and was always well liked by everybody.
All right, time for our categories. We're going to start with our sliding doors moment. It's a what-if moment that could have changed the way this player is remembered in Heat history. Before I get to mine, does anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
I remember specifically how it stood out in 2014. He was waived by the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
And he was a free agent. And I remember thinking that it was almost going to be a slam dunk for him to re-sign in Miami. That was the year, of course, the final year of the Big Three era, and he could have been a great backup wing, and maybe there were just no minutes there, and he wound up choosing to sign with the Oklahoma City Thunder instead, with Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, and Russell Westbrook on that roster because Harden had already been traded. So a team that could have competed, but I think Russell Westbrook wound up sustaining a season-ending knee injury, and so their title hopes were derailed, and they never really quite got the opportunity they would to compete. But I thought had he re-signed in Miami and maybe contributed, I don't know if adding Caron Butler at that stage of his career is enough to offset the Spurs juggernaut of 2014, but it might have done something. It might have just been good vibes, a fresh perspective, because he was such a legend in the Heat uniform. And maybe Dwayne feels a little bit more energized as he's going through his maintenance program. Maybe LeBron kind of sees, you know what, this is a trusted veteran. I get it. I'm not necessarily looking to force my way out to Cleveland. Maybe Chris, I don't know, finds somebody he mutually respects as a proven veteran, etc. And maybe the team just gets an energy boost because we've seen it. We talked about it recently in terms of what Kevin Love brought when he joined the team. Even though he wasn't necessarily a very good player at the time, he provided a different vibe to a locker room that desperately needed it. And maybe Caron would have made a difference. Who knows if Miami might have been good enough to beat the Spurs in 2014 and then win 3 straight rings instead of just 2.
And so I appreciate it. I think it's a great one. It's better than what I came up with.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it does enough to change the outcome of that series.
No.
But to your point, though, Caron never had the return moment. We just talked about Josh Richardson. He had the return, and it wasn't a great return, but he had it, right? And had Caron Butler been a part of a team that made the NBA Finals, which is still an enormous accomplishment, right?
Yes.
You're one of the last 2 teams. You won your conference.
Right.
He's definitely ranked higher on this list. Even if he's just part of that team,
100%.
he ends up being ranked higher on this particular list. So that's a great one. I had the first one I think is really obvious. What if he doesn't fall in 2002?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the mock draft. So I went back on ESPN's archives. I found their 2002 mock draft.
Yeah.
You know who wrote it? Dick Vitale.
Whoa.
They had him writing back then. It wasn't very long, but it's a mock draft. He's got Yao going number 1 to Houston. That makes sense. The first 5 picks were chalk. What he had in his mock was what happened in real life. But then he has Caron Butler going to Cleveland at number 6. And he has Miami taking DeJuan Wagner at 10.
Yeah. That would have been terrible.
Not great, right?
No.
He has Amari Stoudemire falling
take...
to 13, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. He was right out of high school. I mean, I'm looking at the draft now. Like, Gooden out of Kansas, that made sense. Dunleavy, he had his dad who was an NBA player too, so that made sense. Jay Williams, what a terrible, unfortunate career he had because of injury. But I mean, he was a great player at Duke, so it's hard to do. But DeJuan Wagner, undersized guard, and if you draft him in 2002 for Miami, guess what? They don't take Dwayne in 2003. So that's the kind of decision making that could have such a huge ripple effect for a franchise. That would have been terrible. We're talking about DeJuan Wagner and Chris Kaman as the team of the future.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that sounds awful.
So bad. So horrible. I feel nauseous just even discussing
it. So he falls to 2002, and then you can say if he doesn't fall to them, say they have Wagner instead of him. They don't have somebody that was first team all rookie. Is Lamar Odom and just draft picks and Brian Grant enough to get Shaq at that point? I don't know. I don't know how much.
Why would Lamar come? Like, why would Lamar join the team
as a free agent? That's true. That's another great point. But another alternative reality here, if Caron goes a pick higher somewhere in the top 9, does Amari Stoudemire fall to 10? Because he goes 9th in real life. He goes 9th. Does Stoudemire fall to 10? Do the Heat at that point feel comfortable enough taking a high schooler? Probably not. No. But what if they would have taken Stoudemire 10? That's kind of interesting. But yeah, I thought if he doesn't fall in 2002, like there's a bunch of ripple effects that could be really interesting.
That they took Darrell Wright a couple seasons later was like, are you serious? That was kind of him saying, everybody in the league's doing it. I'm going to try something too. And then he kind of was like, I bet you nobody was happier that they abandoned the idea of drafting high school players than Pat. Because, like, why the hell do I want an 18-year-old kid on my roster, sort of thing.
Is he jersey worthy? Is this a cool jersey to own and wear to a Miami Heat game?
Okay, that's a good one. Because Butler now, a different connotation. Would you know that it's Caron Butler and not say, I don't know, Jimmy Butler?
So I'm going with no, just because it's confusing. So Caron obviously wore number 4. Jimmy wore number 22. But I do think there's a lot of fans that would see Butler 4 and just be confused instead of understanding who it was. And so I'm just going to go with no.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
It'd almost be better to wear like another jersey from one of his different teams.
Like a Lakers Butler jersey or something.
Yeah.
Can't wear a Mavericks one.
No.
Does he pass the Eddie Jones test?
Soon. Oh, yeah. I think
really?
That was pretty clear. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I
mean, he was. Oh, really? I'm considering how he was athletic. He was versatile. He did a lot of things. He was like that tweener. You probably in today's game, he'd probably play anywhere from 2 through 4.
Mhm.
You would have him do lots of different things. Like he reminded me a lot of like a later version of Jamal Mashburn, but I think he was even more polished as a mid-range shooter. So I don't know. I think yeah, absolutely, he would have added something to this team. Defensively, I think there were sparks there. I think he tried really hard, and I think yeah, I think he would have found a way to contribute to this team at his peak.
Well, at his Heat peak.
Yeah, his Heat peak was 16 points per game. I mean, yeah,
15 and 5, 41% shooting, 32% on threes. I'm going pretty literal here. I just 15 and 5 on 41% shooting, 30. It was high volume, low efficiency. I don't know that he's definitively better than Jaime Jaquez Jr. right now. That was his rookie year. His second year again was injury plagued and stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't know. I don't know that. I'm sure he could play a role. I just don't know that it's an immediate upgrade.
Okay, I could see it.
Last one is versus pin this player against the player who came before him and ask, did we get it right? We have Caron Butler one spot ahead of Josh Richardson. Did we get it right?
Absolutely not. There's no way. Like we talked about this. Like I mean, I loved Caron's rookie year and everything else like that, but I think Jay Rich was inarguably better in his best season as a Heat player, and there were other seasons before that where he was a strong contributor and he had the return moment. No way. Absolutely a wrong choice.
So I need to clarify something from yesterday's show. I said I did not have Josh Richardson ranked. That was not true. I had him ranked 21. I just read my own thing wrong. Okay. So I had Josh Richardson ranked 21, and I did not have Caron Butler ranked, as I already talked about. So I would also say, no, we didn't get it right. That said, I am very glad that Caron Butler did get a spot on our list. Let us know what you think in the comments here on YouTube. Did we get it right? What do you think about Caron Butler's tenure in Miami? If you had him number 9, make your case. We'd love to hear it. Go ahead and do that. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen today. If you're a second listen, find the Locked On NBA podcast, where there is no offseason, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.